All right. Okay.
And thanks again to our pal Sam Whitfield. Now we bring it all on home with our friend Jason Blair, who is on Twitter at Jason P. Blair. He thinks, I believe that is accurate.
Maybe.
This has been a big year for tweeting, and I think that actually 2020 was a big year. 2021, I don't think you've tweeted yet, have you?
Not yet. I'll try to. Well, I don't know how much I tweeted last year. I might have had 10 last year, which is probably all I'd done put together.
That's a lot.
I had a Twitter account in like 2009 or something. So, yeah, maybe I'll do like a dozen.
Yeah, or Baker's dozen. We'll see. Now, I invited you back onto the Bladtcast today to talk about something that you took umbrage with, which was our reaction to Wonder Woman 1984. But then you did mention to me that you might have had a bit of a more interesting story. So we can go whichever direction you want. We'll talk about both things. It just depends on where you want to start.
Yeah. Well, we'll start with my day so you can see where I'm at. Basically, this all started on Wednesday night. No, it was Tuesday night. It was fish stick night. And so I made a lot of fish sticks for my triplets, and Callum he ate all of his, like 10 of them. And then his sister didn't want them. So he ate like 7 of his sister's, and then his brother ate like 3 of those. So he had like 20 fish sticks on Tuesday night, which is not
by the way, that is living the dream right there.
Yeah.
The idea of having 20 fish sticks. I lay awake at night wishing that I would have a day where I'd eat 20 fish sticks.
Yeah. So everything was good. He got up, went to school Wednesday morning because we do have in-person school here in Austin, and got a phone call about 10:30 in the morning that said that Callum had thrown up. So because of that, I had to come pick him up. They told me that I needed to get a doctor to clear him and all this type of stuff before he could come back to school. So he had to have the next day totally off. He was fine after that, like was playing all day, enjoying himself. And then Thursday, the doctor had already cleared him, but he had to have the day off. So he spent a lot of the day playing Super Mario 3D All-Stars and just enjoying the day. Even went to karate practice, having a blast, nothing wrong. So he gets up this morning and he says, "Do I have to go to school? Because I like being home when Eric and Isla have to go to school." And I said, "Yes, you have to go to school." And he goes, "Oh, I want to stay home and play Mario." I said, "No, you got to go to school." So sure enough, I get a call today from the nurse that says that Callum says that his stomach is upset and he thinks he might have COVID, and I need to come pick him up. And she's very stern with me because he had this, he had thrown up 3 days before at school, and I rushed him back to school. And so he comes down when I pick him up at school. He is skipping down the hallway, like the nurse is walking, and he is coming down the hallway like this, just ecstatic. And the first thing he says to me is, "Daddy, can I go home and play Mario?" And I said, "Dude, are you sick?" And he said, "No." And so I look at the nurse and she said, "Callum, is that what you told me?" And he just kind of looks down. And I said, "Well, are you feeling sick or not?" And he says, "I'm okay." Yeah. And the nurse just says, "Now, Callum, tell me how you feel." And he said, "I'm okay." And she kept asking him. She asked him about 6 times. And then on the 6th, she said, "Now, didn't you tell me?" "Yeah, I told you my stomach hurt." Yeah. And she said, "Well, you heard him. And unfortunately, if he has those symptoms over a 48-hour period, then he's entered into our COVID protocol. He can't come back to school for 14 days unless you get a COVID test that's like a PCR, It's got to be a specific one." And I'm like, "Are you serious? He obviously just wants to play Mario. He's fine." Exactly. And, I'm sorry, but that's our policy. And so as soon as we get in the car, he's like, am I in trouble? And I said, well, why would you be in trouble? And he goes, I was just kidding about being sick because I wanted to play Mario.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had to take off the whole afternoon. I had to find the closest place that would do a 48-hour PCR test on someone under the age of 10, which was 40-minute drive away. Yeah. Scheduled him in, paid the money for the expedited stuff. So, hopefully we'll get that back sometime this weekend and he could go back to school. But I told him that since he lied, that daddy couldn't work this afternoon, so I can't make money to pay the bank for our house. So we'll need to find a smaller house and we're going to have to move now. And, hopefully we won't live in a cardboard box. So, and of course, all of his friends want to play, but we told him that he can't play until he gets the test back. We're not really worried about the test. We just want him to know that he can't be making this stuff in the day and age of COVID. So that was my afternoon, and I was on the way doing that, and you were like, "Hey, you want to talk Wonder Woman?" I'm like, "If I can get all this done." So
and it was interesting because not on that level, but I, as people know, I have 2 kids. Felix is 5, Lucy is 3, and short week. They were off on Monday, but Lucy had been home all week. Part of it was that she'd had a little bit of a stuffy nose. It was mostly allergies, but we take her once a year. She goes to the Children's Hospital in LA for a whole day worth of meeting with a bunch of doctors. And once we kept her home one day, we're like, well, we really don't want her to walk into the hospital and, have everybody be like, what's wrong with this kid? Why did you bring a sick kid to the hospital? But no, in the sense of it wasn't that sort of a visit. So, yesterday he didn't want to go to school because Felix was a little, he was a little bit stuffy, and I'm like, he was just doing it so much. I'm like, all right, we get it. Right. You have a stuffy nose. And so my wife took him to school, but he told the teachers that I have a headache and I don't want to be around the other kids because I don't want to get them sick. And he had mentioned to them that Lucy was homesick, even though it was mostly allergies and largely preventative. So my wife had to go get him yesterday, Thursday. And today it was Friday. And I know the way that the episode is assembled together, you're like, wow, this is crazy.
In a past, present, future hour. Yes.
No, at least we're traveling in a linear fashion. Okay. The earliest segment is the oldest segment, and then this final segment is the newest segment. But like that, all of a sudden it's 2 days later, and then by the time you hear it, it's probably another couple of days anyway. But so, and we kept her home again today because she had a scheduled pediatrician visit. And, she's still a little sniffly, and we're like, we don't want her to because she's a little irritable when she gets sick. So we let him stay home because it was like, he told us he was sick. We know he's not really sick. And at no time has he acted like he's really sick today. So we've said to him a few times, it's like, you're not acting sick. And when he thought that might've meant, and this kid loves to go to school. He loves to go to preschool. He has so much fun going back to school in the middle of August. They were both so happy. They'd never really been happier. They were so glad to be rid of us, being locked in the house most of the time with us. Mm-hmm. And yet the idea that Lucy was home and he had to go to school, I think after a day and a half of that, he was like, oh no, I'm not down with this. Homie, don't play that.
Right.
It's a very old reference. So they're both home today. And then, of course, my wife doesn't work every single day. And then today turned into a day where she had to work in the morning. And I'm like, great, this is exactly what we wanted. So, but not on the level where he told them, he's like, I think I have COVID.
Right.
I don't think he knows it as COVID, but he would have said, I'm pretty sure I have the coronavirus. If he thought of that. I
think that's what my kids say too, is corona. I don't think he might have said COVID. I think they usually say coronavirus.
Because we got convinced that we needed to tell them about the coronavirus, where I'm still convinced, once they went back to school, being home for 5 months, I think that was when they were like, what's going on? But at this point, it's like how to talk to your kids about global pandemic. Don't, know, how to talk to your kids about the siege of the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Oh, I know. Don't.
Yeah.
How to talk to your kids about the election. Don't. And I'm talking about kids my age. Like your kids are in high school, then they need to know things because they can't be that stupid when they go to college.
Right.
But yeah, so I've had to get some of those rapid tests because there have been a couple of times that there was once a teacher tested positive at Felix's school, and then another time it was a parent of one of the kids in the other class. And so it's just like, I'm going to pay for the rapid test, which they're not cheap.
Right.
Allegedly, my wife's insurance reimburses for them, but that's neither here nor there. And we've had to get them. And the thing about the rapid test, my understanding is the rapid tests are like 50% accurate. So it's like, you don't even really know. And like, it's not really telling you anything. It's basically just like, can you write me a letter that says my kid can go back to school? Thanks.
Right.
So, so the test will come back sometime over the weekend, and I'm going to assume that he'll be back in school on Monday. And
I'm sure hoping so. Because if he's not, then that means we're all quarantining for the next.
Oh forever. No, I mean because the test will be negative, but and I think that maybe the fish stick regimen should be kept to under 10, perhaps.
Yeah. I keep it down around my Twitter count, and it'll be good. Because they just do. It's funny nowadays. Like kids always do stupid stuff, but with COVID, like it can have serious meanings. Because I know, like our kids, like one of them will cough, like they'll just go, and then the other two around, and they all of a sudden it's like a coughing contest.
Yeah,
and they literally cough so much that they actually start making themselves cough. So we'll be walking around somewhere, and all my kids are just going, and people are looking at it, and it's just like they're playing like a game, and then they work themselves up. But all of a sudden we're the most disgusting bringing corona into the world family, and it's like they're just six. They're just doing dumb things. So it's it's a new world.
Yeah, no, I know. And even when I was at the children's hospital with Lucy yesterday, when she would cough, I would like sort of over explain, like, oh yeah, she's got allergies, right? And they're like, it's okay. They know that sometimes a cough is just a cough,
right.
And but it's like the nurse even mentioned, it's like, oh yeah, everybody always feels like they need to explain, like, if they sneeze or like, even when I've ever coughed in public, this is the beginning of January. And in the last week, it went from basically being like in the 50s to like the high 80s and now back to the 50s. So for the most part, this is when a lot of people have their allergies bother them.
Right.
That's how Lucy caught a cold, we're sure, and it's just like, oh yeah. So now like I've had a cough and I'm like, I need to hold it in. I can't be coughing at the supermarket, even though I have a mask on. Everybody's like, what was that? It's almost like you'll be asked to leave. It's like, no shirt, no shoes, no service, no mask, no service. And also coughing gets you kicked out as well. So,
right.
You
try to do those soft coughs that like never kind of work. Like
you try to hold most of it in. Yeah, exactly.
This isn't working. You have to do it like 20 times, which you sound even weirder than just doing one loud cough. So.
Yeah. Well, I think that Callum obviously has. We've talked in the past about an influence on his life where he perhaps plays fast and loose with the truth, and that would be, of course, J. Jonah Jameson, publisher of the Daily Bugle. I think that realizing that if you sort of alter the facts, you might actually get what you want. So I'm sure J. Jonah Jameson would be proud of saying, like, I think I might have corona. Can I go home and play Mario?
Right. This is your fault, J.K. Simmons. But,
exactly. All right. So now that we had that fun, so I wanted to. This is our second episode where we talk about Wonder Woman 1984, and you posted on Facebook that you didn't trust my summation of WandaVision, which is fantastic, by the way. You didn't trust it because I was so wrong on Wonder Woman 1984. It was a film that was largely devoid of charm. There was not much fun to it. And even for the standards of a comic book movie, it was hard to follow. And it was, and you just now with your ringtone made better usage of 80s music than that stupid movie did. There's like half an 80s song into it. And
hey, well, that was a Jay-Z song. So
I know, but I just for the sake of the show, I pretended it was an 80s song. I'm surprised it wasn't Jodeci though.
Yeah, it should be. I should work on getting a Jodeci ringtone. So
yeah,
I'm sure there's lots of them out there.
So why were we so wrong? What do you know better? What did you get out of? And by the way, I would have loved to have watched it and been like, oh, I don't care what people said. That was fun. I wish I had enjoyed it.
It was just. I think it was so surprised actually with Will more than anything because he's usually the DC fanboy. I was kind of, I think, in tune with you and probably Coltrane back at the time as far as like, Superman, the Superman movie and Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman. And he was always like kind of, rooting for him. And so I watched this. I was, wanting it to be good. And so I didn't come in. I watched it, I think the first day it came out before kind of all this negative buzz of, sort of hit. And it definitely had a lot different feel than the first one. But one thing for me with the first one was sort of like the end. Everybody's calling me now. I'm sorry. I need to shut my ringer off. But the whole God.
John Jameson thanking you for the shout out.
Right. Like the sort of the God battle at the end. And that's the thing is I know that Wonder Woman really has a lot of, mystical. I mean, she's the daughter of Zeus and all this type of stuff. So you're never going to sort of completely be devoid of that stuff. But that was one thing at the end of that movie that I thought the lead up was really good. But then the final battle was just a little over the top. So I'm not the type of person that just needs there to be action from beginning to end on a movie. At first, when it started, I will say I fell in love with it because when I lived in Washington, D.C., I actually lived across the street from the mall that they filmed that scene at, the Springfield Mall in Virginia. So I was like, oh, I know this place. And it really still kind of looks the same.
Yeah, it still looks like the 80s. I like that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that was cool. And also I just, having lived in DC, just, sometimes when you live in a place, you just connect to it a little bit more, knowing where they're at and stuff. So that was a nice thing. And then I just kind of liked the character development of Kristen Wiig's character. I didn't love that she turns into like a leopard or a cheetah or whatever. Yeah, at the end. Like, I didn't love that. But I really kind of liked the motivation. I like it when the villains have a motivation. And in some of the superhero movies, it's just they're bad. They just want to destroy everything. I could understand why she didn't want to let that power go. She was sort of people didn't pay attention to her. And I think she was sort of a good person, but then it's like, you've got this one thing that you need to give up. Well, hey, I'm on board with you, but why do I got to give this up? This is the one thing that I want. And I think a lot of times, to me, I saw a great metaphor there in the world that sometimes we are sort of destroying ourselves by hanging on to the things that we shouldn't be hanging on to. And that we could really be better people, the society would be better if we sort of let those things go. And those things are hard to let go. But I really was intrigued by that she started out, you could see why she ended up where she was. It wasn't just like, I'm going to turn bad now because I have powers. It was like, well, I don't want to give up these powers. These are great. Why, I'm going to use them for good. But then it's like, well, if you want to do the right thing, you got to give them up. And I think I could sort of empathize with that and see her growth as a character from, why she took that arc and why she was really going to fight to the death to keep that, which was her downfall. So I liked that storyline. And even, I don't know, it's probably just the dad in me, but the Pedro Pascal storyline, obviously he's corny and he wears that sort of the Jimmy Swaggart 80s looking televangelist look with the, which
pompadour.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny, but you know, at the end, I sort of saw like why he wanted to amount to all this stuff. Where I want to be this powerful person, kind of for my kid, but at the same time, he ended up pushing his kid away. So he sort of did the opposite of what his original intent was, and just seeing where he was so beat down growing up that he wanted to really make something of himself, and it just spiraled out of control. I liked those messages, and I still thought that, obviously any movie with Gal Gadot in it, like you said, you said you didn't like the movie and it was unwatchable, but then you said she could read the phone book and I would watch it. Well, yeah, that's a big plus.
Well, I would have enjoyed that more than this.
Yeah. So, there wasn't lots and lots of action. I mean, there were things I didn't like about the whole, they're at work and then all of a sudden it's the 4th of July on the same day that was kind of dumb.
Look, you lived in Washington, D.C. I lived there for a summer. I've been there on many 4th of Julys.
That whole week it's a ghost town. Everybody's gone.
But also, you're not wearing your jacket to work that morning. It's usually one of the hottest days of the year.
Super hot, super muggy. Yeah. So there's that. I saw people complaining that she pretty much raped the guy that Chris Pine's essence was in, because it was his body, but he couldn't say no or whatever. I'm like, you're thinking too much.
You're overthinking it, because we got to meet that guy at the end of the movie. He wasn't saying no.
Right. Yeah. And it's Gal Gadot. So you're not saying no. Right.
Yeah. And it's like, even if he was in a committed relationship, even if he had a wife who I don't know why she wasn't there, he'd be like, yeah, still okay with it. So I think that, that's people really looking for an issue like that. Before I'd seen the movie, I noticed that people were tweeting about how it handled the issue of consent. And then I'm like, okay, I guess, but
in real life that would be an issue. I think
in real life, yes,
it's a movie. It is there obviously wasn't an implication here about, which is also why they used Chris Pine, and it wasn't this other guy, walking around just saying all of Chris Pine's lines. Yeah. So anyway, I liked it. The other thing I didn't quite get was the president supposed to be President Reagan, or was he not?
I said that earlier on this episode, and I said it in our previous episode. I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be Reagan or just Mr. President, someone who was just generic president, because he didn't sound like him, but he looked enough like him. I'm like, are they trying? Did they try to make it look like him?
That was a bad casting choice. I think they should have gone either total full, just Reagan impersonator, or gone just totally different guy, like the dude from Clear and Present Danger is the president. That
right. I mean, exactly. You do something, just have a fake Mr. President, and then it's fine. But it was distracting in those scenes. I'm like, is this guy Reagan? He doesn't sound like him. He doesn't really act like him. But the hair, kind of, he also wasn't old enough,
Right. So, I mean, was it my favorite movie? No, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't think it was slow. I don't need those movies that are just, like Armageddon, where it's just countdown after countdown.
Yeah, nobody needs that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just things are exploding at all the time, and there's funny clips, and so I don't know. I think I just really connected with, believe it or not, Kristen Wiig's character, why she had a clear motivation, and I'm not sure that if I were in a similar position, I would give up whatever my wish or my power was. And at the end, it got obviously a little chaotic with him doing it over the TV, but I the idea is we all want to, if we just had that one wish, we would do something great and things would be good. But how many of us would actually do that? And how many of us would actually still be miserable and sort of ruin things? And those were, to me, I thought those were good kind of messages. And I liked it. They didn't do the invisible jet stupid. I think they did that as well as they could.
Yeah,
If they're gonna
except
have
for
it,
how she was able to get into that jet, and like she mysteriously had keys or a way to get into that hangar, and it
do
just
jets have keys though?
no, keys to the hangar. Like she got
Oh,
in,
well,
and then she
she
got
can
to the
break
jet.
the lock.
And yeah, you gotta use something to start it. I don't know. Yeah, look, I would have liked to have felt that way about it, but there was just too much all the way throughout that I've done 2 episodes about it now, and each time I'm like, oh, I should probably watch it again. Oh, I should watch it on HBO Max while it's still free because it's only through the 24th. And I'm just like, yeah, I just don't want to do that again,
I liked it. I thought it was good, and I was just really surprised, like I said, that Will was so like it's garbage, because I'm like, how can you watch Batman versus Superman and defend it and say it
Yeah.
was a lot better than people say, and then you watch this movie and say it's garbage? I thought it was. Look, was it Wonder Woman 1? No, but was it Batman versus Superman? No, I thought it was way better than that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Batman versus Superman, but I feel like from a story structure standpoint and the reality,
COVID.
that's the kid with COVID. I know it's too bad, but he's also not afraid of any ghosts, so that's good to know. Yeah, I think that the idea that the story structure and that, and like whether you agree with the story that they actually told in Batman vs Superman, at least it made sense in the world that they created. Whereas like this world, you're just like, there's just too many questions, there's too many head scratching things, too many performances where I'm like, whew, yikes. And I said first 2 acts I really liked. I really liked Kristen Act in the first third of the movie. In the middle, it was still okay, and then in the end, I'm like, oh no. These are all the wrong choices. Pedro Pascal, I never warmed up to. I've made the joke multiple times. He just needs to keep the helmet on, and then I'll love him forever. Well,
yeah.
Jason, thank you for sharing your differing opinion here for the counterpoint. Sam Whitfield, who I just talked to, liked it, but was a little bit more, like, oh, I didn't hate it. But you're like, no, I think it's actually good. So we wanted to get somebody on the record who would defend this movie.
I thought it was good. I thought you said Rob Lorich liked it. So
yeah, Rob Lorich said he liked it more than the previous Wonder Woman. So at some point, I got to have that conversation with him because I want to know more about that.
I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, but he doesn't like really any of the DC movies, which there's no faulting anybody for feeling that way. So I think that this is the one he liked the most. Anyway, Jason, I think people should follow you on Twitter, and maybe an increased Twitter count will get more fish sticks on the dinner table, and that's really where it's at Jason P. Blair. I appreciate your time. We appreciate Sam Whitfield's time. Thanks to Zia for fitting us into her very busy schedule. You can follow her on Twitch at Zialand. But honestly, you just wait for her to be on the Bladtcast again. You're not going to get that much out of that Twitch stream. We appreciate everybody who it was on, and of course, all of you listening and or watching. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ, like the Bladtcast on Facebook, at Bladtcast on Twitter, BLADTCAST.com. And there's a whole network on YouTube, the Bladtcast YouTube channel. So follow our shows there for reactions to Star Trek Discovery, which Jason was on. We did season 2 of The Mandalorian. We're going through WandaVision right now on Marvel Movie Talk. So all of that on the Bladtcast YouTube channel. We will see you next time on the Bladtcast.